Alternate arts are some of the best Pokemon cards that have ever been printed, and it's no surprise that a lot of these cards are still holding some pretty high value. As we get further and further into the Scarlet and Violet era, and more beautiful special illustration rares get released, we still see collectors going back to the Sword and Shield alt arts. So today, let's take a look back at the top 10 alternate art Pokemon cards, and see where the value lies as we close up 2024. What's up guys, welcome back to the channel. The Sword and Shield era brought us alternate art Pokemon cards, some of my favorite cards, and I feel like a lot of your favorite cards as well. One of the most popular cards it seems ever released, the Moonbreon, has consistently been moving higher and higher in value. Some other alt arts have dropped, but it seems right now a lot of them are on a rebound or starting to grow once again. There are a ton of really nice cards out there, so let's dive right into number 10 of the top 10 alternate arts. Just a few days ago, we would have had Lugia sitting at number 10, but that is not the case anymore. That one has gone up just a little bit on the list, so there's a teaser for later. But number 10, you're looking at the Sylveon Vmax from Evolving Skies. It's no surprise that a lot of the evolutions, a lot of the Evolving Skies cards are going to fill up this list. With that set being just so stacked and sealed product getting more and more expensive, it seems every single day, we're going to be seeing those high value singles rise once again. I say rise again because Sylveon Vmax was actually going for about $270 back in that short boom we had around the end of May earlier this year. It backed off like a lot of these alt arts did, actually like a lot of stuff did in general. It seemed like beginning of September, a lot of stuff was kind of on the downward slope, but it all turned around going into October and is now steadily climbing, especially this card. Right now it's at $219. It seems like it'll grow a little bit more. But yeah, sitting at number 10, the Sylveon, amazing card. Moving up to number 9, you've got the Espeon. This is one of my favorites and actually one I'm going to try to pick up sometime over the next month. Again, similar situation. This one was going for almost $350 back around the same time, end of May, beginning of June. Backed off quite a bit, but started turning around mid-October. Now it's going for about $225. I'm going to make a separate video talking about this. There are a lot of evolutions in this set, but I have a feeling that the release of Prismatic Evolutions might boost a lot of these alternate art evolutions. I feel like some of the new collectors might start ripping into Prismatic Evolutions and want to go back and collect some of these other evolution cards. Personally, I think the alternate arts look quite a bit nicer than these new SIRs we're getting. Time will tell on that. We got to wait for that set to be released first. So yeah, Espeon sitting at number 9, $225. Really solid card, could possibly keep increasing, but one that I'm sure is going to keep increasing is the Lugia. This card is almost back at its 1-year high. It was going for $227 about 6 months ago. Right now, $225. Basically there. I feel like this one is going to continue to grow as Silver Tempest grows. If you haven't watched my last video, Silver Tempest is sold out on Pokemon Center. Booster boxes are going to continue to rise, and in turn, I think this alternate art will as well. It's a really nice card. There's a lot of Lugia fans out there, and honestly, I think it's one of the best alternate arts. It's really hard to put your finger on it, though. There's so many good alternate arts out there. They're all amazing. This card definitely deserves to be in the top 10 though, and I think it'll stay up here long term. All right, back to the evolutions. You got the Glaceon from Evolving Skies. This one's down quite a bit right now. Personally, I'm surprised it's this high on the list. I think the Espeon is better than it. But right now, Glaceon's sitting at about $252. It is down quite a bit from its high of $317 earlier this year, and it doesn't seem like this one is growing too much right now. It seems somewhat stagnant at this price. This card's awesome, but I don't hear too many people talking about Glaceon the way they talk about some of the other cards like Umbreon, Rayquaza, Giratina, Gengar, even the Espeon or the Sylveon. I feel like I hear people talk about those more than Glaceon, but something that makes this card stand out a little more to me is the Pikachu and some of those other Pokemon in the foreground. I think that Pikachu is really cool. It's in a great spot. It's, obvious there. It's contrasting from the rest of the artwork, and I think it pushes it a little bit further than some of the other alt arts. Next up, one I honestly really dislike, a card that I never pulled. I was surprised. I pulled a lot of stuff from Chilling Reign. I opened a ton of Chilling Reign when that was like the hot new set. Personally, I would take this right out of the top 10, but a lot of people love it. I think I'm in the minority that just doesn't really like this Blaziken card. Love Blaziken, hate this artwork, but Blaziken from Chilling Reign going for $287 right now. Again, down pretty significant amount from its high of this year of $405, but it seems like it's getting some sales on TCG Player. It looks like this one is going to start increasing. It might be one that if you haven't picked up yet, you might want to grab it. It hasn't really been selling cheaper than $250 since, before that alternate art boom at the beginning of this year. Probably one I'm going to skip out on indefinitely, but one to keep an eye on, possibly one to pick up if it's something you've been holding off on grabbing for your collection. All right, breaking into the top 5, we're going back to Evolving Skies, back to Evolutions. We've got the Leafeon Vmax. I love this card. Amazing one. I was really, really hoping to pull this. I think when Evolving Skies first came out, this was my chase card. Like, I really wanted this one. Never pulled it. I'd still love it, but there's other cards I want to pick up before this one. It hasn't really dropped back down to a price I want to pay for it. Right now, sitting at about $290, and it's gone for as high as $355 throughout this year. I regret not picking this one up when it was going for like $150, $160. I had plenty of opportunities to grab it for under 200 Canadian, and I never did. At this price, I don't think it's going to be one I'm going to pick up. There's other cards I want more in my collection, so we'll focus on this one at a later date. If it drops again, that'd be awesome. But this one's sitting high up there in the top 5. And again, like a lot of these other alternate arts, seems to be climbing just a little bit. Rebounding. I don't know if it's going to climb back up to 350 too quickly, but it looks like it's on track to at least climbing back up towards $300. Number 4, you got the Giratina alternate art from Lost Origin. This card has been making waves ever since it was released. Its value has fluctuated pretty heavily throughout its lifespan. Even over the last year, it was going for as low as like $230, spiked all the way up to $480. So it went up like double in price in the matter of like 3 months here at the start of the year. Dropped all the way back down to $320, but is now on its way back up. It's sitting at $415 right now. I think it's going to keep going. I wouldn't be surprised if this hits $500 again. Might not be in the next 6 months, might not be in the next year, but I think this is similar to Moonbreon as being one of the most iconic cards from the Sword and Shield era. And honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if Giratina slithers its way up into the top 3 at some point. Next up is the Gengar, and this is one of the few that has actually started flying up past its 1-year high. It's kind of crazy to see these 1-year graphs. Like, this card was going for as low as $200 at the start of this year, bumped all the way up to $410, so doubled in price around the beginning of May, dropped back down to $300. So it went up $200, $210, dropped $100, and is now up to $450. With Fusion Strike finally selling out on all the Pokemon Centers, it was in stock on Pokemon Center UK for a while. Now that it's gone, this card just boosted in value like over the last couple of weeks, maybe month and a half. It's just been steadily growing. I don't really think this one's going to continue going towards $500 just yet. It seems like it's going to pause here for a little while between $400 and $450. But this is why I feel like that Lugia might see more growth. Silver Tempest is following a similar path to Fusion Strike. It's sold out just like Fusion Strike did, and it's caused the booster box to start trending upwards. Fusion Strike's booster box blew up, it seemed like overnight. It went up crazy in value. I don't think Silver Tempest is going to react exactly the same or as aggressively, but I think that Lugia is going to follow the path of Gengar here. Not saying it's going to hit $400. I don't think that's really realistic for that card, considering how much easier it was to pull than Gengar. But yeah, Gengar's been making moves over the past month or so, and is now sitting strong up here at number 3. And moving into number 2, a card that could actually fall to Gengar. It's only ahead by about $18, and that's the Rayquaza from Evolving Skies. It hasn't quite made it back to its 1-year high of $542. Right now sitting at $468, and this isn't really one that has seen consistent movement over the past few weeks. It actually climbed up to about $467 back at the beginning of November, and has sat pretty well stagnant at that price for the last month. I feel like people aren't necessarily making plays on Rayquaza right now. It looks like a lot of people are focused on Fusion Strike, Gengar, Silver Tempest, a lot of the Scarlet and Violet stuff. Surging Spark seems to be the focus for a lot of people these days. And same with a lot of the other Scarlet and Violet stuff. There's just a lot of different sets, a lot of different cards, a lot of different products out there right now. And I think Rayquaza has just kind of been left up here. It's an expensive card. I don't think it's necessarily at a point where it's going to make any moves up or down. I wouldn't be surprised if this one just stays here around $450 for a while. Amazing card, again, not one I pulled, a card I'd really like. I love Rayquaza, one of my favorite Pokemon of all time. But at this price, probably not one I'm looking to pick up. And now number one, no surprise, the Moonbreon, the Umbreon Vmax alternate art from Evolving Skies, the Moon Kitty. This card has gone so hard over the last year. People didn't think it would hit $1,000. It crushed $1,000. It's on its way to $1,500. It's cracked $1,400, which is insane. At the start of the year, it was going for like $540. I was heavily contemplating selling the only copy I have. I pulled a copy out of a Charizard UPC, got super lucky. Terrible conditioning, didn't think much of it. I figured I'd sell it raw. And then I was like, you know what? If it comes back like a 9, that's not bad. I expected an 8. An 8 at the time was about the same price as a raw copy. So I decided to send it for grading, figuring it would come back as an 8. And if it did, I could sell it if I felt like it, or I could just keep it. At least that way it was certified. You know, it'd be easier to sell it, I felt like, with a lot of them on the market. Probably a lot of fake copies being made out there. But over the time it was at PSA, it started climbing in value. I think I got it back in March. So when I submitted it, it was about $530. I submitted it first week of January. So it's $540. By the time I got it back, it was going for about $650 and continuing to climb. It ended up coming back at 10 to my surprise. Even everyone in the shop surprised, like no one expected that. So it came back at 10. And at that point I was like, I'm not selling this. I would never buy this card. It's too expensive. I can't justify spending, $1,000 on a PSA 10. But man, since it has just climbed like crazy. The raw copy going for $1,400 is absolutely insane. And the PSA 10 copy has even sold over $2,000. Like, that's just insane. I know some people are playing with big money on the market, but I'm not buying anything that's this expensive. This card is almost worth double what my first car costed me. But it just seems like it's going to continue to climb. Like, it keeps selling, it keeps moving forward. It might stall a bit, but like I said earlier with prismatic evolutions, I think newer collectors are going to be getting that because it's more accessible than Evolving Skies. They're going to be opening it. They're going to be wowed by the evolutions and look at some of the older cards. And man, I feel like these alternate arts just go way harder than these new special illustration rares are going to go. I'm really interested to see how that's going to affect the Evolving Skies market and affect these evolution alternate arts. I'm also really interested just to see what the value is going to be for that new Umbreon card or the new Espeon, any of these prismatic evolution special illustration rares. If they're going to be difficult pull rates, we've seen Pikachu, we've seen Greninja, they could be going for like $500 on release and just stay consistently at that price. But needless to say, it's a really interesting time to be in the Pokemon TCG. A lot of stuff is climbing, a lot in value, and I feel like over the next 6 months, over the next year, going into the 30th anniversary, a lot of stuff is going to continue to grow in value, and I don't think we've hit the ceiling for these alternate arts yet. Alright guys, so that's going to be it for today's video, the top 10 alternate arts. It's nice to see some movement on this list. It's been relatively the same throughout the entire year, it's just the value of everything has kind of fluctuated, but the 1 through 10 hasn't really changed too much. It's nice to see Lugia move up a little bit. I think it's deserving of a spot on this list. There are other cards that didn't make the cut that were on here earlier in the year, the Umbreon V. I feel like the Charizard was on here at one point. My favorite, the Galarian Moltres, is starting to see a little bit of growth right now as well. So if there's any alternate arts you haven't picked up yet, now might be a good time to get in on it because it just seems like the market's going crazy. There's no real way of telling if these cards are going to slow down or drop in value again anytime soon. But anyways, let me know in the comments below, what is your favorite alternate art Pokemon card? I know I've asked this question before. I feel like it changes for people. Mine is forever going to be that Galarian Moltres, but I love the Lugia as well, the Leafeon, the Espeon, probably my top few right there. Also a quick note, I should mention, I made a tier list video ranking every Sword and Shield alternate art card. I'll put a link right here on the screen if you want to check that out. And if you enjoyed this video at any point, consider hitting that subscribe button. I'm trying to hit 4K by the end of the year, and I think I can do it with your help. Alright, that's going to be it. I'm out of here. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and we'll see you in the next one. Peace!